You were being prepared. You thought I was silent, but I was working in places your eyes could not reach. My beloved child, there were moments when you almost gave up completely. There were moments when disappointment sat so heavily on your chest that you could barely breathe. You questioned your worth. You questioned your future. You questioned whether you were forgotten. But hear me now. I never abandoned you. Not for 1 second. I walked beside you through every dark valley. I stood next to you in every painful moment. I carried you through storms you did not even realize you survived. The enemy wanted your mind. He wanted your confidence. He wanted you to believe that your story would end in failure and delay. But I refused to let darkness have the final word over your life. That is why you are still standing. That is why your spirit did not completely collapse. That is why something inside you kept holding on even when everything around you felt uncertain. It was me sustaining you. It was me protecting the purpose over your life. And now listen carefully, because this next season will require faith greater than fear. I am bringing you into a moment where you can no longer speak defeat over yourself. You can no longer call yourself forgotten when heaven has already marked you for blessing. You can no longer live as though your future is empty when I have already written restoration into your story. This is the season where you must stop doubting what I already declared over you. Every promise I spoke still stands. Every prayer I approved in heaven still carries power. Every delay carried purpose. Every closed door carried protection. Every painful ending was separating you from what could not follow you into your next season. My child, I know how difficult the waiting became for you. I know there were mornings you woke up exhausted before the day even began. I know there were moments you pretended to be strong because you were tired of explaining your pain to people who could not understand it. I know there were times you felt embarrassed for still hoping after so many disappointments. But I never asked you to carry this burden alone. I never intended for you to destroy yourself trying to control everything. Some battles were never yours to fight. Some doors were never yours to force open. Some answers could only arrive through my timing. And now the time is arriving. You are entering a moment where things will begin shifting suddenly. The peace you prayed for will begin settling over your spirit. The confusion that surrounded your mind will begin breaking apart. The heaviness you carried for so long will start lifting little by little. You will begin seeing signs that I am moving again. Opportunities will appear unexpectedly. Certain conversations will change everything. Certain delays will suddenly make sense. You will realize that while you were worrying, I was already arranging what you asked for. You will understand that I was never ignoring you. I was positioning everything perfectly because I knew exactly when the breakthrough needed to arrive. Type Amen. I'm washed in mercy if His forgiveness has reached you. My beloved child, stop telling yourself that you missed your chance. Stop believing the lie that it is too late for you. Stop speaking hopelessness over your future. I am the God who restores lost years. I am the God who opens impossible doors. I am the God who creates rivers in dry places. And I am telling you now that your story is not ending in disappointment. What I declared over your life will come to pass. Not because you are perfect, not because you earned it, but because my grace has been carrying you even when you did not realize it. There is a reason your spirit feels stirred while hearing these words. There is a reason something deep inside you feels awakened again. That is my presence reminding you that I am still writing your story. You have cried long enough. You have waited long enough. You have questioned yourself long enough. Now I need you to receive what I am speaking over you today. This is not the time to shrink back in fear. This is not the time to keep replaying old failures inside your mind. This is the moment where you must rise and believe again. I know the enemy tried to convince you that nothing would ever change. I know he whispered lies into your mind late at night. He wanted you to think your prayers were useless. He wanted you to believe your situation would remain broken forever. But he cannot cancel what I have already spoken. He cannot stop what I have already set into motion. Heaven has already released what belongs to you. The answer is no longer distant. The blessing is no longer delayed. The breakthrough is no longer trapped behind closed doors. It is already in your hands. Receive it now. My child, I need you to hear this clearly before this message ends. No more waiting. No more wondering. No more living in fear that I forgot about you. I have seen every battle. I have counted every tear. I have heard every prayer whispered from your exhausted heart. And now I am declaring that this is your moment. Not tomorrow. Not someday far away. Now, I do not delay without purpose. I do not abandon my children halfway through the journey. I do not bring you this far just to leave you empty-handed. What I promised still lives. What I declared still stands. What I prepared for you before you even asked is already moving toward fulfillment. So breathe again, my beloved child. Lift your head again. Hope again. Trust again. Because what heaven has already declared over your life cannot be stopped by fear, delay, people, or darkness. It is done. I said so. My beloved child, before your first prayer ever escaped your lips, I already knew the ache hidden inside your heart. Before you cried those silent tears at night, before your hands folded together asking me for help, before your spirit grew weary from waiting, I had already begun preparing the answer. You believe heaven was silent because you could not immediately see movement around you, but I was already moving long before your pain reached its breaking point. I need you to understand something deeply now. Nothing about your life has ever caught me by surprise. I knew every battle before it arrived. I knew every betrayal before it wounded you. I knew every delay before it frustrated you. And because I knew, I was already preparing what you would need to survive it. That is why I am telling you now to stop living as though you have been abandoned. You have been prepared for, protected, and carried far more than you realize. My child, while you were worrying about doors closing, I was already building new doors that no human hand could shut. While you were grieving over what left your life, I was already arranging what needed to enter your life next. You kept asking me, Lord, where are you? And all along I was working quietly in places your eyes could not reach. There were conversations happening you never heard. There were dangers I blocked before they reached you. There were opportunities I delayed because the wrong people were standing too close to your destiny. You saw waiting, but I saw preparation. You saw silence, but I saw alignment. You saw delay, but I saw protection. My child, I do not delay without purpose. When I hold something back, it is because I can see what you cannot. I see the entire path while you only see the next painful moment in front of you. Please support our channel. Our work is to bring happiness in your life and devotion to God. And if you want, you can donate to us, given link in description or pinned comment to show your support. There were times you begged me to move faster. You thought if the answer did not come quickly, it meant I was ignoring you. But I need you to hear me clearly now. If I had released certain blessings too early, they would have crushed you instead of helping you. Some things required your spirit to grow stronger first. Some doors required your wisdom to mature first. Some relationships had to leave your life before the next chapter could safely begin. I was never punishing you through waiting. I was preparing you through waiting. Even seeds buried deep underground appear forgotten before they finally break through the surface. But hidden beneath the soil, life is already forming. Growth is already happening. Roots are already stretching deeper. In the same way, while you thought nothing was changing, heaven was already preparing your next season beneath the surface. My beloved child, I know the waiting wounded your confidence. I know disappointment made you question your worth. I know you watched other people receive blessings while you kept wondering when your turn would finally come. Some days you smiled while secretly asking yourself if your life would ever truly change. Some nights you fought tears because you were exhausted from hoping. But I never forgot the promises I placed over you. Not one word spoken from heaven concerning your life has failed. Not one prayer aligned with my will hath been ignored. Everything has been moving according to a timing greater than human understanding. I see beyond temporary emotions. I see beyond current pain. I see the future I prepared for you before you even took your first breath. My child, there are things I placed into motion years ago that are only now beginning to connect together. You thought certain moments were random, but they were not random at all. Every lesson, every heartbreak, every delay, every closed door, every lonely season carried hidden purpose. Even the people who walked away from you unknowingly created room for what I was about to send next. Even the painful endings that nearly shattered your heart were clearing obstacles from your future path. You mourned losses that heaven already knew were necessary. You begged me to hold together things that would have eventually destroyed your peace. But because I love you deeply, I protected you even when protection felt painful. Listen carefully now because your spirit needs to hear this truth. The answer did not begin the moment you prayed. The answer began long before the prayer ever formed inside you. I am eternal. I stand outside of time. I already knew the battles your future would hold, and I've already placed provision along the road ahead. Before your tears fell, comfort already existed. Before your loneliness grew heavy, I already planned divine connections. Before the financial pressure increased, I already arranged opportunities. Before the enemy attacked your confidence, I already declared victory over your future. You are not chasing blessings that heaven forgot to create. You are walking toward promises that were prepared for you long ago. My beloved child, the enemy tried to convince you that delay meant denial. You wanted your faith to collapse while the blessing was still forming. You wanted your heart to grow bitter before the breakthrough arrived. He whispered lies into your exhausted mind saying, "Nothing will change." God forgot you. The promise failed, but those lies were never truth. The waiting season was never proof of abandonment. It was proof that heaven was carefully arranging every detail so that when the answer arrived, it would not destroy you but establish you. I needed certain doors to close permanently. I needed certain distractions removed. I needed your dependence on me to deepen so that the blessing would never become more important than the one who gave it to you. There were moments you almost walked away completely. Moments when disappointment hardened your heart. Moments when fear made you question whether hoping again was dangerous. But still I remained beside you. Even when your prayers became weaker, I remained faithful. Even when your faith trembled, my hand never left your life. I watched over you in silence because silence was shaping endurance inside your spirit. I allowed certain struggles because they were building strength you would need later. One day you will look back and realize that the very season you wanted to escape was the season that prepared you for everything you prayed for afterward. My child, I need you to stop measuring your future based on your present feelings. Just because you feel tired does not mean your purpose disappeared. Just because the answer feels delayed does not mean the promise died. I am still moving. I am still arranging. I am still opening doors you cannot yet see. There are things happening right now in the unseen realm that will soon become visible in your natural life. Certain opportunities are already approaching you. Certain breakthroughs are already being formed. Certain prayers are already moving toward manifestation. You are closer than you realize. I know the process felt lonely sometimes. I know you became tired of pretending everything was fine while silently fighting battles inside yourself. But you were never actually fighting alone. I was teaching you how to trust me beyond emotions. I was teaching you how to stand even when circumstances looked impossible. I was teaching you that my promises are not controlled by human timelines. Human beings panic when they cannot immediately see results, but I work with eternal understanding. I do not rush perfection. I do not abandon preparation halfway through. And I do not release promises carelessly. My beloved child, there is something important I need you to understand before this chapter ends. The waiting season was not empty. It was full of invisible construction. While you cried, I was building. While you questioned, I was arranging. While you doubted yourself, heaven was still speaking your name with purpose. The blessing did not disappear because the process became painful. The promise did not die because the timeline became longer than expected. I was still there in every hidden moment, preparing what would eventually change your life. Now the season is shifting. The things hidden underground are beginning to rise toward the surface. The prayers you thought were delayed are moving closer than you realize. You are entering a moment where hidden preparation will become visible reality. Suddenly certain things will begin making sense. Suddenly certain doors will begin opening. Suddenly peace will begin replacing confusion. And when it happens, you will understand why I refused to abandon the process halfway through. So stop telling yourself that nothing is happening. Stop speaking hopelessness over your future. Stop believing that heaven forgot your name. Before you even asked, I'd already prepared it. Before your heart broke, I already prepared healing. Before the storm arrived, I'd already prepared strength. Before your enemies rose against you, I'd already prepared protection. Before your waiting season began, I'd already prepared your breakthrough. Trust me now, my child. What I started in your life, I will complete. My beloved child, I know there were moments when my silence hurt you deeply. I know there were nights when you lay awake staring into darkness, wondering why heaven felt so quiet while your heart was breaking apart inside you. You prayed with tears. You cried out with faith. You begged me for signs, for answers, for relief, for something to show you that I was still near. But instead of immediate answers, you felt silence. Instead of quick breakthroughs, you felt delay. Instead of peace, you felt confusion pressing against your mind. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began asking yourself painful questions. Did God forget me? Did I do something wrong? Why does it seem like heaven responds to everyone except me, my child? I heard every one of those thoughts, even the ones you were too afraid to speak out loud. And now I am answering you directly. My silence was never abandonment. While you thought I was distant, I was standing closer to you than your next breath. While you thought I had turned away, I was carrying you through battles you could not even see. There were storms surrounding your life that would have completely destroyed your peace if my hand had not been protecting you quietly behind the scenes. You kept asking why certain doors refused to open, but you could not see the destruction hidden behind those doors. You mourned relationships that ended, but you did not see the heartbreak and chaos I was shielding you from later. You cried over delays, but I was preventing premature blessings from collapsing under the weight of wrong timing. My child, silence does not mean absence. Sometimes my greatest protection arrives quietly. I know how painful it became for you to keep believing while seeing no immediate change. I watched you encourage yourself during the day and secretly fall apart at night. I saw how tired your spirit became from carrying unanswered prayers for so long. There were moments you almost stopped praying because disappointment had exhausted your faith. There were times when your own thoughts became your greatest battle. You wondered if your hope was foolish. You questioned whether your waiting had meaning. But every single tear mattered to me. Every silent cry reached heaven. Every painful moment was seen completely by my eyes. Not once did I ignore your suffering. Not once did I stop loving you through the process. Say amen. I embrace this blessing if you're welcoming his gifts today. My beloved child, there were things happening around your life that you could not understand because your vision was limited to the natural world. But the spiritual battle surrounding your destiny was very real. The enemy saw the calling over your life long before you fully understood it yourself. He saw the purpose attached to your future. He saw the blessings heaven planned for you. And because he could not destroy what I declared, he tried to exhaust you emotionally instead. He attacked your confidence. He attacked your peace. He attacked your patience. He wanted you to become so discouraged during the waiting season that you would abandon the promise before it arrived. That is why your mind felt under constant pressure. That is why fear sometimes appeared stronger at night. That is why confusion tried to cloud your spirit whenever breakthrough was near. But despite every attack, I kept sustaining you. You thought you survived by your own strength, but it was my hand holding you together when your emotions almost collapsed completely. There were moments when you were far weaker than people realized. Moments when your smile hid overwhelming pain. Moments when you silently begged for relief while pretending to be fine in front of everyone else. But I never looked away from your pain. I sat beside you in every lonely moment. I listened when nobody else understood your struggle. I comforted you in ways you did not even recognize at the time. Sometimes my presence arrived through unexpected peace. Sometimes it arrived through strength you could not explain. Sometimes it arrived through a small moment that kept your spirit from completely giving up. That was me carrying you quietly. My child, I need you to understand something important now. If I answered every prayer immediately, you would never fully learn how deeply dependent you are on me. Immediate answers can create temporary comfort, but waiting seasons create spiritual depth. The silence forced you to seek me differently. The delay exposed wounds hidden inside your heart. The process revealed fears you had bearing for years. It showed you how much of your peace depended on circumstances instead of trusting me completely. And while that process felt painful, it was also transforming you into someone stronger than before. You have asked me many times, Lord, Why did it have to hurt this much? And I answer you now with tenderness, because some parts of your spirit could only heal through surrender. You were carrying burdens you were never created to hold alone. You were trying to control outcomes that only heaven could arrange properly. You were exhausting yourself trying to force answers before their appointed time. So I allowed certain things to slow down because I needed your soul to rest inside my presence again. I needed you to stop measuring my faithfulness by visible results. I needed you to learn that I remain God even in silence. My beloved child, silence was never the end of your story. It was preparation. It was protection. It was positioning. While you thought heaven was quiet, heaven was actually moving carefully around your life. Certain people had to leave first. Certain lessons had to shape your spirit first. Certain dangers had to pass by without touching you. Certain blessings had to mature before you could safely carry them. You were asking me to move quickly, but I was moving wisely. I see what tomorrow holds while you only see today's frustration. That is why I could not release everything immediately. There were moments when you compared your journey to others and secretly wondered why their prayers seemed answered faster than yours. But my child, comparison blinded you from seeing the uniqueness of your own path. Some people receive quickly because their assignment is smaller. Some receive slowly because what I prepared carries greater weight and greater responsibility. You cannot measure your destiny through someone else's timeline. I crafted your story intentionally. I know exactly what your future requires. I know exactly what your spirit needs. And I know exactly when the breakthrough must arrive. I also know there were moments when bitterness almost entered your heart. Moments when disappointment tempted you to stop trusting me fully. But even then, I remained patient with you. I never condemned your tears. I never rejected your questions. I understood your pain completely because I know what it feels like to carry sorrow. I know what it feels like to be misunderstood. And that is why my compassion toward you never disappeared during your weakest moments. I did not expect perfection from you during the process. I only asked you not to completely let go of my hand. My child, hear me clearly now. The silence is breaking. The season that once confused you is beginning to reveal its purpose. Soon you will understand why certain things had to happen exactly the way they did. Soon you will see why I closed some doors permanently. Soon you will recognize the protection hidden inside painful endings and delayed answers. And when understanding finally comes, you will realize I was never working against you. I was working for you the entire time. The enemy wanted silence to destroy your faith, but instead silence deepened your dependence on me. The enemy wanted waiting to weaken your spirit, but instead waiting strengthened your endurance. The enemy wanted delay to convince you that your future was empty, but your future remained protected in my hands the entire time. What I promised over your life still stands. What I declared cannot fail. And now the answers you thought were far away are beginning to move closer. So stop interpreting silence as rejection. Stop believing that quiet seasons mean forgotten promises. I was closer than your next breath the entire time. I heard every cry. I counted every tear. I guarded every broken piece of your heart. And now I am leading you into a season where what once felt silent will begin speaking clearly again. Trust me, my beloved child. The God who carried you through silence will also carry you into fulfillment. My beloved child, the greatest battle you have been fighting was never only around you. It was inside you. Long before the enemy tried to attack your finances, your relationships, your opportunities, or your future, he first targeted your mind. He understood something that you did not fully recognize at the time. If he could fill your thoughts with fear, then eventually fear would begin controlling your decisions. If he could ground your mind in doubt, then doubt would slowly weaken your faith. If he could convince you that nothing would ever change, then you would stop expecting miracles before heaven even released them. That is why the battle became so intense inside your thoughts. That is why exhaustion followed you even during quiet moments. That is why overthinking stole your peace late at night while everyone else seemed asleep. The war was happening inside your mind. I saw every silent struggle you hid from people around you. I saw how you replay painful memories over and over inside yourself. I saw how disappointment slowly made you question your worth. Some days your thoughts became heavier than your circumstances. You smiled outside while inwardly carrying fear that your future would never improve. You started wondering whether your prayers still carried power. You questioned whether my promises still applied to your life. Sometimes you even feared hoping again because disappointment had wounded you so deeply before. My child, the enemy knew exactly what he was doing. He was not only attacking your situation, he was trying to attack your expectation. Because once expectation dies, people stop preparing themselves for breakthrough. There were moments when your own thoughts became your prison. You analyzed every delay until anxiety consumed your peace. You searched for signs everywhere because you were afraid of being forgotten. You carried conversations inside your head that nobody else knew about. You imagined worst-case scenarios before anything even happened. Fear painted pictures inside your mind that never came from me. I do not speak through panic. I do not speak through hopelessness. I do not speak through torment. Yet the enemy kept whispering lies into your spirit saying, nothing is changing. God forgot you. The promise failed. You will always struggle like this, and because the waiting season felt long, those lies sometimes sounded believable to your exhausted heart. But hear me clearly now, my beloved child. Stop doubting what I declared. My promises are not controlled by your emotions. My plans for your life do not collapse because fear entered your thoughts temporarily. You believed your moments of weakness disqualified you, but they did not. Even when your faith trembled, my hand remained steady over your life. Even when your mind became overwhelmed, heaven did not cancel your future. I knew there would be days when you felt mentally exhausted. I knew there would be nights when fear would try to overpower your peace. And because I already knew, I was already guarding your destiny while you struggled through the process. My child, your mind has carried too much pressure for too long. You were never created to hold every burden alone. You were never meant to carry tomorrow's fears while still healing from yesterday's pain. Yet slowly, over time, you trained yourself to expect disappointment as protection against heartbreak. You told yourself not to hope too much because you feared losing again. You became cautious with your faith because you thought expecting blessings would only lead to pain. But that fear was quietly stealing your ability to receive what heaven was preparing for you. Fear closes hands that should remain open in faith. The enemy also used your past against you repeatedly. He reminded you of old failures. You replayed embarrassing moments inside your mind. He kept bringing back memories of betrayal, rejection, and mistakes so you would define yourself by pain instead of purpose. Some days you looked at your life and only saw everything that went wrong. You forgot how many times I already carried you through impossible situations before. You forgot how many storms you survived because my hand protected you. You forgot how many times I rescued you quietly when nobody else even realized you were breaking inside. The enemy wanted selective memory. He wanted you to remember pain but forget my faithfulness. My beloved child, I am healing your mind now. I am breaking the chains of fear that wrap themselves around your thoughts. I am silencing the lies that tormented your peace. I am removing the heaviness that kept convincing you your future would remain stuck forever. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not too broken for restoration. You are not too late for purpose. The lies tormenting your mind were never greater than the truth I already declared over your life. I know there were nights when anxiety became so strong that you struggled to rest. Your body felt tired, but your thoughts refused to become quiet. Your mind jumped from fear to fear, searching for answers you could not control. You carried invisible pressure inside yourself constantly. People saw your face, but they could not hear the battles happening inside your head. Yet I heard every anxious thought. I understood every hidden fear. And I stayed beside you even when your own thoughts exhausted you. I never rejected you for struggling mentally. I never condemned you for feeling overwhelmed. Instead, I kept surrounding you with grace even during your weakest moments. My child, you must stop allowing fear to speak louder than my voice. Fear predicts disaster before it happens. Fear tells you doors will close before they even open. Fear tells you you are unworthy before the opportunity even arrives. But my voice speaks differently. I speak peace into chaos. I speak hope into brokenness. I speak purpose into confusion. I call you chosen even when insecurity tells you otherwise. I call you loved even when rejection wounded your confidence. I call you victorious even while you are still fighting battles. That is why you cannot continue building your future on fearful thoughts. Fear cannot lead where faith is required. You also need to understand that overthinking has been draining your spiritual strength. You kept trying to mentally solve situations that only heaven could arrange properly. You searched for certainty in places where trust was necessary. You wanted full explanations before obedience. But faith does not grow through controlling every detail. Faith grows by trusting me even when the path ahead feels unclear. The enemy wanted your mind so distracted with worry that you would lose sight of my presence beside you. But I am calling your spirit back into peace now. Comment Amen. My faith is alive if you're ready to move mountains. And share this video.